We've all seen logos on gym floors, advertisements in our programs, and commercials on during our favorite games on TV. Commercialization is everywhere in sports. We've all seen jerseys were one of the places that remained relatively untouched by advertisements and commercialization. It wasn't until 2016 when the Philadelphia 76ers agreed to a $5 million deal from StubHub to place a small patch with their logo on it on their jerseys. In an article by Joe Pinsker entitled Is There Room for Sports to Get Even More Commercialized? He claims that this would be the first of its kind and many deals would follow. Although I think he overlooked a big place that started putting ads on their jersey first, which was the WNBA. The WNBA started putting ads on their jerseys in 2009, and they do this because they obviously don't generate as much income as other organizations such as the NBA or the MLB or even the NFL. So they have to make up for that lack of revenue in other ways. And starting in 2018, they're actually going to do more on-court sponsorships, such as at the free throw line, and even adding another patch on their jersey just to increase that extra revenue.
I don't want to.
Nina Mandel continues in her article that the
Listen,
New York
much
Times
frustrating.
reported that half of the WNBA teams lose money.
No, I'm good.
So that WNBA is doing a lot to try to increase their revenue. So putting sponsors and court logos on are just one of those ways that they could do it. And they also began streaming their games on Twitter, and they also got new partnerships with Jay-Z's streaming service Tidal, and became the first women's league to partner with FanDuel. They also got their inspiration from their logos on their jerseys from European leagues, which often do that. Um, Executives at the WNBA thought that they would get ridiculed for this. However, everyone just thought it was business as usual, like they do in Europe. The WNBA example is one way that commercialization can be used in a healthy way in athletics. The WNBA can't often afford to do all of the stuff that they're trying to do and pay their athletes proper wages unless they use extra advertising money because their viewership just isn't as high. One way that commercialization takes advantage of sports often that people look at is the NCAA level and the Division I college athletes. In an article by Brad Wolverton in 2009, he reports that big time college sports generate approximately 60% to 80% of their revenue from commercial sources, um, which some people are not okay with because they think that it's kind of abusing the program's tax exempt status from public universities, um, because they are nonprofit organizations, and most people believe that nonprofit organizations can use their tax exempt status to further their mission, um, which in the cases of colleges and universities, um, that is supposed to be strictly educational. However, I don't know how educational it can be. For example, in men's basketball, you have a lot of college men that go for 1 year to school and then drop out, and then they end up going to the NBA next year because they enroll in the draft after 1 year. So how much of this money that is being donated to them for and tax exempt and giving tax breaks to the donors, how much of that is actually going towards educational purposes and furthering their education? Or are these students passing all their classes all the time? Another way to look at NCAA athletics is in an article by Patrick Risch, and he states that these big schools are generating all of this money, yes, but they don't just have it as income all the time. They have to build new buildings constantly and use it to spend on travel to get new recruits. And they have to spend all this money to keep having top programs. So it's kind of an ongoing cycle. And he states that only 20 to 25 of the big NCAA Division One college football teams are making money like this way. And the big time schools with football have approximately a loss of 14.7 million when using the revenues generated by athletics. Overall, I believe that there are definitely ways that commercialization can be used and does help athletes and creates better scenarios for them, but it just needs to make sure that the money is going to the right places and we're not over commercializing the sports and we're making sure that focus stays on what the focus and the money is intended for.